always, my normal disclaimer when I talk about Hedron, Icosa stuff, or anything that Alex builds. I am not a part of like the official team or anything like that. So all the information given to me was just given to me through other people. I'm not like on the inside of any of this stuff. But a while ago, a new Twitter page popped up called Sigma Protocol. It is actually not directly related to Icosa Hedron version 2, which we're still waiting for updates on the launch date, testnet, all of that stuff. If you want more details on the upgrades that are happening to Hedron Icosa, go to the Icosa Telegram, Hedron or Icosa Telegram room. And in there, in the pinned messages, you'll see all of the details and information that will be applicable for the V2 launch, which I'm excited to get when the time comes. But the Sigma protocol at bird's eye view is basically a decentralized, non-custodial ETF protocol. So it allows us to create baskets of assets and bundle them into an ETF for people to be able to hold them by holding like a single token. We have similar things that exist right now on PulseChain, but there are some key differences. I will explain those differences when I explain the protocol. But just going over what the protocol is, this Sigma protocol will create two different types of ETFs, an equal weight asset ETF and a variable rate one. Let me pull up exactly what it's called again, so I get that correct. EWI. I'm sorry, EWI. Take out this EWI ETF. So this is an equal weight ETF, and then we also have a mutual ETF, and this one is MUT, and this one is EWI. EWI. So the main difference between the two is that the EWI ETFs, these are comprised of 4 assets at equal weights. And the mutual ETFs are between 3 to, I believe, 30 assets, also at equal weights. So the general way that this protocol works is you have a base currency or a base asset. In the example, we're just going to use DAI. And what you can do is deposit this base asset into the Sigma protocol. And then what the Sigma protocol will do will swap that asset for the ETF assets. So if we're doing an EWI, it's 4 assets at 25%. Let's just use the PulseChain core assets because there's 4 of them. So it'll swap it 25% into PulseX, HEX, and Inc. And then the protocol will then spit you out. It will spit the user out an EWI token. And the number of EWI tokens represents your share of the ETF. So, if you put in $1,000 and there was only 1,000, and let's say you get 10 EWI tokens out from it, then your 10 EWIs would represent 100% of the shares. And then let's say somebody else puts $1,000 in and then they get 10 EWI tokens. Now your assets represent 50% of the shares. So it's a 1-for-1. What you put in is what you get out, and your share of the total percent of the EWI supply, or you can pretty much exchange EWI for MUT. It's the same mechanics behind both. The only difference is the number of assets that are backing that ETF. And so your percent of the total supply of EWI or MUT is your percent of the ownership of the underlying ETF. And what Sigma will do is it will swap this stuff directly on chain. So these will be DEX swaps. So you have one asset that's deposited. In our example, we'll use DAI, and then the Sigma protocol swaps for the appropriate tokens in that ETF, and then it'll spit you out a specific EWI token. You can then, of course, take that EWI token, put it back into the protocol, and then it will spit you out the underlying assets of that specific ETF. So Pulse, PulseX, HEX, and Inc. in this specific example. And so this is basically a way for us to create and hold a basket of assets on chain without a third party doing the custodial service of that ETF. You know, normally, like if you buy an ETF on Vanguard or Charles Schwab, Vanguard or Charles Schwab's are the ones that are holding those assets, and then they create the ETF asset to allow you to hold all of them at once. Now, with the Sigma protocol, we can do that for blockchain assets, and it's all on chain and decentralized and non-custodial. So that already, you know, improves the ability for us to hold multiple assets at the same time without the complexity of, okay, so I have $1,000, let me buy $250 of each specific token. Let's say you have an onboard that you're like, hey, I want you to buy all of the PulseChain assets. Instead of having them buy each one individually, you can now have them just buy the basket, the ETF, and then it will track the value of all of those tokens, one through arbitrage, and then there's also an internal. There are also the ability to use oracles to set the internal prices of the ETF. So this allows us also to provide liquidity with all four assets at once. So let's say, for example, you have a new token and you want it to be paired with all four of the core PulseChain assets. What you'd have to do is divide liquidity into 4 different pools and then pair it 25% into each of the pools. That creates some energy loss or some inefficiencies with the need for routing with bigger orders. This way, with EWI that's attached to the 4 core assets, you can take your new coin that you're wanting to create or a coin that you are a fan of, and you can pair it with all 4 assets at once and have it be correlated with all 4 of the tokens. There are fees associated with it. So every redemption and creation, so both here and here, there is a fee associated with it. The base fee is 1%. And that fee is dynamic based on the DAO. So there is a DAO and a DAO token called TAO, and that DAO can make proposals. And those proposals can change some of the parameters around the protocol, such as the fee structure, creating new ETFs with different assets, as just some examples off the top of my head. Those fees are then distributed to people who are staking the EWI token. So you could take the EWI token, you can stake it, and then the fees are then paid to the stakers of that asset. So if you you put a bunch of your asset, you put a bunch of DAI in there, you get your assets that you want, then you can stake it to earn the protocol revenue that comes through that specific ETF. So it's not all protocol, all ETFs, as far as I understand it right now. Of course, any details that I say are amenable to change from official sources. But as far as I can tell right now, the fees go to people who are redeeming or creating new EWI tokens or MUT tokens from that specific ETF. The stakes do have minimum locks. So it's not a maximum lock of like HEX staking where you're locked for X number of days and you have to end stake it at that specific day. There's a minimum lock based on your percent of ownership of the, I believe it's the pool. I believe it's the pool of it's either the staking pool or the total assets that exist. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's volume dependent. So the more tokens that you stake for the protocol fees, the longer your minimum lock period is. And from the details that I got, it is basically the same as ICOSA staking. So let me pull up the document on the side here just so I can read it exactly. Yeah. So a whale size staking. Okay. So it's by supply. I'm sorry. It's by the supply. So a stake of greater than or equal to 1% is a 360-day stake. A shark position or 0.1% is 270. 0.01 or a dolphin is 180. A squid 0.001% is 90. And then all other stake sizes are 30 days. And if you end your stake before that minimum period, then some fees are incurred. So it's the exact same layout as the ICOSA and Hedron staking that we currently have with that protocol. And this is it. And so, not you can imagine, there are a bunch of different ecosystems that exist on PulseChain. You have SolidX, you have the PTGC /UFO, you have PDI. They have a bunch of assets. You have the RSI ecosystem. Tons of ecosystems that are already thriving and doing well on PulseChain. These have the potential to create basically an ETF for their main tokens, or if you're able to get a proposal through, whatever tokens you want to have an ETF associated with it are able to be created. Let me think. Anything else to say on this? That's pretty much the long and short of it, guys. It's really not that complicated. You put in one asset. This base asset can be changed technically, so you can. Let's say you have a PDI one. You can put PDI in instead of DAI if you want, or if you want to do Pulse for the example one that I have here of the core assets. Instead of having it be DAI, you can do Pulse. Although for that one, I think DAI would probably be the best, so that you can put some buy pressure into the core assets. We do have similar things that exist right now. The two that come to my head are the PHUX liquidity tokens and the FAME liquidity index. It's based on the pool sloth. Okay, thanks, Red Squirrel. Appreciate that. Okay, so you have the two liquidity pools, the FAME liquidity pools and the FUX liquidity pools. The main difference between this protocol and the ones that already exist is that the ETFs are not liquidity pools. They are an ETF, so there is no impermanent loss associated with them. Good examples would be like the HTT tokens, HTT and HEX. That would be a pretty cool ETF to be created. COM and HEX, just to keep it on topic for the conference. But yeah, basically you can create. You have the theoretically you could create an ETF for any basket of assets as long as you can get DAO approval for it. So yeah, that is it, Max. That is all that I got for the protocol. Go ahead and clean this up a little bit.
Is it all going to make us insanely rich?
In of itself,
Richer.
probably not. No, this protocol is more of a infrastructure value add, not necessarily something that's going to inherently put buy pressure into the chart or create some kind of flywheel. But you can imagine, like, okay, so we have this ETF asset. If we wanted to use that as the base of anything that we're building in the future, instead of having that ETF be held by a third party, we have the ability to have it completely on chain. And so, yeah, it's not something that's going to directly create a bunch of buy pressure, but it does make onboarding easier, for example, because you can just have them buy this token and then they'll own all the assets up front instead of, okay, go and swap into all of these. And there can be some, confusion when it comes to DEX swap. So if someone's like, hey, I don't care about all this decentralized mumbo jumbo woo-woo crap, just tell me what to buy and hold. This would be something that gives them base exposure and they only hold one token. So it's not like, where's all my tokens? Where's all my stuff? It's like, okay, buy this one. And then whenever you want to sell it, you can sell it.